Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're going to connect some major dots on how historic debt, international friction, and just ridiculously rapid tech advancements are colliding to reshape our world right now. I'm absolutely thrilled to walk you through this because the sheer scale of the changes happening simultaneously is just fascinating. We're literally watching a fundamental rewiring of global economics, the energy grid, and human innovation, all happening at the exact same time.
So let's jump right into it with this staggering figure. The United States national debt just hit a record of $40 trillion. We are seeing borrowing and federal interest expenses surging at a pace we've frankly never seen before. And look, this isn't just some abstract big number on a balance sheet. It's more like a gravitational force. It pulls on everything from your everyday consumer prices to global monetary policy. The sheer weight of a $40 trillion debt load fundamentally alters how markets behave and how investors calculate risk.
To make sense of today's massive news cycle, we're breaking this explainer down into 5 key shifts: the market reaction, global energy tensions, the AI infrastructure boom, tech safety scrutiny, and finally, impacts on climate and health.
All right, shift number 1, how markets are reacting to this historic debt. You can clearly see the immediate fallout right here on Wall Street. The S&P 500 took a hit of about 0.9%, which actually marks its largest drop in 3 weeks. Meanwhile, the Dow fell about 1.3%, and the Nasdaq dropped a full percent. So why this sudden pullback? Well, rising government debt combined with climbing oil prices and those stubborn inflation concerns are actively pushing Treasury yields higher. When government borrowing gets this expensive, it essentially drains liquidity and shifts capital away from broader equities. But here's the thing. This macroeconomic pressure doesn't hit every sector equally. It's really a tale of two economies right now. On one hand, you have Walmart shares plunging nearly 10% after they issued a highly cautious outlook. Everyday retail is absolutely feeling the pinch of higher consumer borrowing costs, steeper fuel prices, and inflation. But then on the other hand, heavy industry like agriculture is showing some surprising resilience. Deere gained about 6.8% after reporting strong earnings and a better outlook for agricultural equipment. Moving on to shift number 2, global tensions and the escalating refined fuel crisis. Zooming out to the global stage, diplomatic friction and actual physical conflicts are wreaking havoc on global supplies. As U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent and President Trump threaten the toughest economic sanctions in history against Iran, combined with naval blockades, the physical reality on the ground is deteriorating fast. Conflicts have knocked out over 20% of Middle Eastern refining capacity, while Ukrainian attacks have reduced Russian output by nearly 30%. The ultimate result of all this? A severe refined fuel shortage that sparked a massive 70% spike in diesel prices and a 60% jump for gasoline. And you know, these regional tensions are translating directly to the price of raw crude. Brent crude has gained roughly 2.1%, climbing up to over $93 a barrel. This impacts all of us, especially as Washington puts pressure on China, which currently takes in about 80% of all Iranian oil exports. This isn't just an isolated diplomatic dispute. It's a fundamental disruption to the entire global energy supply chain. Okay, shift number 3, let's talk about the AI infrastructure boom, and specifically this unbelievable $650 billion push. While global energy markets are tightening up, AI is out there creating its own massive demand. Tech giants are pouring unprecedented capital into physical infrastructure. We are talking about an expected investment of approximately $650 billion in AI infrastructure just in the year 2026. To put that into perspective, Meta alone is aiming to boost its overall computing capacity to around 14 gigawatts next year, largely to support producing their own internally designed AI chips starting in September. The sheer physical footprint of this tech leap is just astounding. This infrastructure boom is getting so massive and so volatile, actually, that an entirely new financial market is being born out of pure necessity. Enter compute derivatives. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission is actually seeking public input right now on how to regulate these new financial instruments. Basically, they are contracts tied directly to raw computing capacity. They're designed to let AI developers and cloud customers hedge against wild infrastructure prices and lock down the processing power they need. We are quite literally commoditizing raw computation. The ripple effect here is wild, driving massive capital into both the defense and private sectors, while slamming straight into physical bottlenecks. Take Smack Technologies. They just raised $61 million fueled by Pentagon demand, and they're developing an alpha, wrist-worn AI computer for military personnel out in the field.
Over in the private sector, AI chip startup Etched reportedly doubled its valuation to an eye-watering $21 billion in under a month. But here is the irony. Billions of dollars in funding can't just magically spawn more power grid capacity. Cloud providers are now locked in fierce, ground-level competition for limited electricity and high-capacity grid connections just to turn these highly valued technologies on.
Which brings us to shift number 4, tech safety scrutiny. The classic tension of innovation versus regulation.
This is pretty wild. Happening on the literal exact same day, we saw two totally contrasting events. While OpenAI was busy launching a teen-focused product, ChatGPT for Teens, Meta was simultaneously kicking off a federal trial over child safety. The timing here places two highly competing approaches to young users directly into the spotlight, highlighting the immense pressure on tech companies to prove their products don't expose teenagers to preventable harm. But it's not just domestic legal battles. We're seeing a clear fracturing of the global tech market. The U.S. is preparing a new AI coalition that would essentially force participating countries to choose between American and Chinese frameworks. And corporations are scrambling to adopt. Apple, for instance, is currently training a separate internal AI model specifically for China just to meet their local regulatory rules. Meanwhile, World Liberty Financial is backing a venture that provides access to restricted Chinese AI models. National rules over chips, platforms, and data are just completely dividing the international tech ecosystem.
Finally, our fifth shift: climate, health, and society. Let's bring this all down to earth and see how these macro shifts actually hit home. Now, even with hospitals paying way more for transportation because of those diesel spikes we talked about earlier, medical science is just on fire right now, delivering incredible breakthroughs. Moderna and Merck recently reported that their experimental mRNA cancer therapy successfully reduced the risk of melanoma returning or spreading. And researchers are already evaluating if this personalized mRNA tech can work for other cancers. Plus, obesity medications are showing early promise against polycystic ovary syndrome. And tying right back to tech, medical organizations are rapidly expanding AI for documentation and scheduling, though, of course, regulators are aggressively checking these tools for accuracy and bias. Outside the hospital walls, these macro shifts are shaking up everyday life in so many different ways. Extreme heat from North Texas into the desert Southwest is straining the exact same power grids that those AI data centers are currently fighting for. Out in the Pacific, Hawaii is still restoring electricity and checking historic sites following Hurricane Lala. On the political front, federal agents recently seized devices from former Representative Eric Swalwell amid an ongoing misconduct investigation. And in perhaps the most surprising cultural shift of all, the creator economy has gotten so lucrative that colleges are now offering formal degree programs focused entirely on being an influencer. I mean, if that doesn't prove our economy is changing faster than ever, I don't know what does.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. We've seen how all these massive shifts are totally interconnected, right? The cost of government debt influences consumer spending, geopolitical friction chokes off fuel, driving up prices for everything from shipping to hospitals, and that historic $650 billion AI push is demanding unprecedented amounts of electricity, right when global energy is at its most volatile. So the real question is, how will this exact collision of historic debt, fracturing energy markets, and exponential tech growth fundamentally rewrite the rules of your own industry and your daily life? It's a lot to process for sure, but understanding these connections is absolutely the best way to prepare for what's coming next. Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for exploring these massive shifts with me today.